All right, what is going on, everyone? So, we are just coming off some unpleasant diamond ranked climbing, and I need a break. So I also just hit Lord with Cloak and Dagger, a character I didn't really use in the first, or I guess season 0. I mainly played Mantis, but I gravitated over to Cloak and Dagger just because of how good she is. Or they are, and I feel like I've stepped up my stats a lot as a strategist in general, and I feel like I've learned a bit with Cloak and Dagger that I thought I would share. Now, I don't claim to be the best Cloak and Dagger out there. There are definitely people that are way better than me, but these are just some tips and tricks I kind of learned along the way that I think will help both new players to Cloak and Dagger, or lower ranked players that are learning and want to try and get better, or even high level players that can put these to better use than I can. So yeah, I just wanted to, I got about 8 little tips and tricks here. I'm going to try and be quick with them so these videos aren't too long. But yeah, there's some stuff I really wanted to get out there that I think is important. And even if you're not a Cloak and Dagger player, it might give you some insight into how she plays and how you might be able to play around her as a tank or as a DPS or whatever. So from here, we're going to jump into the practice range just so we can look at some stuff here. But to start, we are going to just talk about her left click, which is pretty simple. It is an auto tracking.
Light can heal and light can harm. Same with me.
A connection. Oh, because I'm downloading Final Fantasy VII in the background. So yeah, her left click, something that you might not know, is it is an auto tracking projectile, and it's got a fairly weak initial heal on it. But something you might not know is it actually has a splash to it, and it's a fairly big radius. So as I shoot my ally here, you're gonna see like a big blue circle on the ground around them. That's the splash radius. So I believe the initial hit is 10 HP, and the splash is something like 18. So as I shoot my ally here, you're gonna see there's kind of a very faint blue circle. You might not be able to see it due to the quality, but it's basically right on the edge where I'm standing down here. And in that radius, it will actually splash and hit your allies. So it can be really good when you're trying to heal a group of teammates and they're all bunched together. It'll actually splash. Or more importantly, if you are hurt and you need some healing, you do actually have some self heal, but this will heal yourself as well. So super useful to know there, I think. I actually never noticed the circle until recently, but yeah, it's actually got some splash to it, which is extremely helpful. I don't think the game actually tells you that. Oh no, it does. And heal nearby allies. I really wish the in-game gave you more details, like numbers and stuff, instead of me having to go to a wiki to see those actual numbers. But yeah, anyway, thought I'd share that. I think that's really useful. Another one is the right click. So again, kind of basic here, the right click with Cloak. So it does make you go invisible, which is great. And it can dodge like a Magneto ult or just damage in general. But an important part is that you can actually use it. If you hold space, you can use it like a flight, like any character that has flight. You can actually use it to fly up and take high ground, which can help you get better angles or safer angles to heal your teammates or whatever. But yeah, super useful, really versatile if you can aim it properly. But yeah, you can actually go up and down with your ascent and descend button, so you can actually move around in whatever way you want. Really helpful for just taking different elevations and stuff. Another thing, I won't be able to show it because I don't have any I don't have an enemy Moon Knight here, but
Here come the bad guys.
when you're trying to shoot onks that Moon Knight puts down, it can be a little hard with your tracking projectile. Like if it was right here, see how I'm automatically tracking up there? A thing you might want to do is just quickly switch over to Cloak and do it that way. It's really hard to shoot onks with the dagger left click, especially if you have allies nearby as well, because it's going to bounce to them or auto track to them if they need healing. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Do a quick swap over, take it out. Again, you want to be focusing on those, in my opinion, as support. It's pretty important that you try and take those down if you can spare the few seconds to stop healing your allies and be able to take those out. But yeah, it's way easier to shoot with a cloak and dagger with the cloak than the dagger. So her with their terror cape, which is the wave wall thing, in the cloak form, this right here, super useful. So not only does it blind enemies, but it actually puts a debuff on the enemy. I believe it's a 20%, yeah, 20% vulnerability. So they're going to take 20% more damage when you hit them with this. So you throw that out and they're just going to, for both you and your teammates, you're going to be able to do more damage to them. So it can be really disruptive to the enemy because they're blind, obviously. If you've ever been blinded by a cloak, you know what I'm talking about. There's like a big, you're basically inside like a funnel, right? Like inside the eye of the storm, basically, and you can only see a certain distance. Can be very disorienting. But again, most importantly, you do some damage with it, but you're also getting that vulnerability debuff applied to them, and you can hit multiple targets. So if they're all grouped together, throw this out, it'll hit all of them, and you can do more damage, which means from maybe splash damage or ults that hit multiple people, you're just going to do more damage to those people. I don't think it lasts super long. I don't think it shows here. I think it's only a few seconds, maybe like 3 to 5 seconds, but very valuable to have that on there. Oh, it's 3 seconds. 3 seconds. I got it written down here. But yeah, it will do a little bit of damage. I believe 55 when it hits them, and then obviously that vulnerability debuff. I try and swap to this and throw it out any chance I get. Mostly I'm going to be in daggers for him, trying to keep everybody healed. But anytime I see that it's up, I'll swap, throw it out, switch back immediately. Now, normally, oh, it's because I have the cooldowns off, but normally when you're in this farm, if you look just above my ult there, you'll actually see the cooldown for it on Cloak. So you'll kind of know when it's back up again. And again, you can sit here healing, throw it, get back to healing, and that can help your teammate output more damage. So always trying to be throwing that out and helping your team in that way. Now again, back to your right click. This is going to be a little bit more selfish, but it can be helpful to your team as well.
Lights out.
If a Magneto's throwing down his ult, you can actually switch to this and go into your cloak form and dodge it. When you do that, it pulls your teammates in as well, so they can potentially dodge it. But if they shoot or anything like that, it pulls them out immediately. So you can try and help your teammates there too, but just keep in mind that no matter what, if they do any sort of action, they are going to pull themselves out of it. And it doesn't last that long, so you do kind of have to time it a little bit. And that's why with stuff like Magneto or even an Iron Man, their ults are a little bit easier to dodge because you have that that initial, like the fear Magneto thing. You have time before it goes off usually. It can be a little slow swapping and then right clicking, so you do have to be somewhat quick, and because of that, most of the time you're not going to dodge things like a Moon Knight ult. You might be able to get out of maybe a Psylocke ult if you're lucky and it doesn't hit you right away. Even if it hits you right away, I don't think it one-shots you, so you might still have time there. But again, you do have to be fairly quick doing it, and it's not the quickest animation. So just keep that in mind. But super useful to get out of trouble, especially coming off like your ult, because when you do die, your ult goes away. Obviously, you can die in it, and there's not really much you can do about it. I get Magneto ulted every so often while I'm in the middle of my ult, because you can't really do anything in it. But if you get out of it and you hear that Magneto coming down, you can switch quick, get out. And that'll keep your ult on the ground if you survive. So pretty useful there. I use that a lot to try and dodge stuff. Even just getting out of little close range fights. If I've got like a magic or a Spider-Man jumping on me, I can do this. I go invisible. I think they see the outline, but they don't see me. So they can kind of track you, but it can help you get out of tricky situations. Your right click. Your right click is really, really important as Dagger. Her right click is a bubble heal, right? So you throw that down, you got this little bubble, you can stand inside of it, get healed. Your teammates can stand inside of it and get healed as well. It's something you can be very proactive with, and kind of you have to read the situation with your teammates. It is your strongest heal. I believe it's 55 per second. As opposed to your other stuff. I forget what the wave is. But it's a one-time thing, right? And then it's on cooldown. But your right click is 55 per second and can heal multiple allies. So it's super, super good. And you can use it as a self heal. So there's a lot of times if I'm getting dove in the back line, I don't have like a Mantis Sleep or a Luna Freeze or something like that. What I'll try and do is I'll drop it on my feet, maybe switch to Cloak, maybe try and get a debuff on that person diving me and just try and take them down that way as quick as possible, or just try and survive as much as I can, and hopefully my allies will help me out there. But the right click is also very versatile in that you can basically set it and forget it kind of thing. So if I'm trying to fight and heal over here on one side, I can throw that over there, keep these teammates going. Now I'm back on this guy, healing him up, keeping him up. But you can also use it to, let's say we got an Iron Man kind of peeking the corner around the corner there. I can throw it up there. He can float around in that, shooting the enemy. I can stay down here focusing on the rest of my teammates. Again, very versatile in that sense. Another one is, it can be very hard to place it on tanks because tanks are constantly moving around, and there seems to be something in the brains of teammates where they want to move out of that bubble. So you can actually use it as a way to retreat, right? So if your tank's up front here and you notice them backing up, you just throw it behind them so they're moving back through it, and you kind of force them into the heal, right? Hopefully they notice and they can actually stop. But sometimes you can use it, if you've got a smarter tank, you can use it to throw in front of them so they can push forward a little bit. Really, really versatile. And even getting people out of range. If this ceiling was a little bit lower, I don't know if it'll hit here, but oh no, I would. So if you got a DPS up here fighting somebody and you're down here and you don't want to try and fly up there, you just throw it on the ceiling, they'll get them heals. Yeah, lots of different ways to use it. Make sure you're kind of versatile. If this guy was an ally, I can throw it there and he might walk into it and have that as a heal. Really, really versatile heal. Probably one of your most important ones. Do I have anything else on that? No, I think that's basically it. Yeah, so now speaking of allies and not really being aware sometimes, your ult is another one where people seem to have a strong aversion for actually standing in it. So sometimes you'll actually have to chase them. I try not to do it all the time unless I really have to. But if I see my allies are dying over here, I can try and chase to them and place it down and kind of force them into it. But yeah, there's some weird like animations with it. I don't know if it's graphic settings or what, but it can be a little difficult to see sometimes. So just keep that in mind with your teammates. Try and place it in places where you can kind of, again, force them into it. As a Cloak and Dagger, yeah, as a support in general, you definitely have to be a little bit more aware of your allies and how they play and stuff like that. Always try and be communicating it as well. So if you're gonna ult onto point, I'll always say, okay, I'm ulting onto point, and I'll be even more specific sometimes. Let's say we're playing a convoy map and we're playing on the actual payload. I'll say, okay, I'm ulting on the right side, and I'll try and stack it on the right side or go past the right side. Either way, I'll let them know what side of the convoy I'm going to place it on so they can be a little bit more aware. But there's still times like I'll hear a storm ult coming and I'll say, hey, I'm going to put my ult down, get ready to play in it, and they'll run the other way and just die to the storm in the back. So there's only so much you can do, but try and do what you can to give your team the best chance, right? Now, speaking of the ult, the last little tip here is that there's always been a lot of talk about stacking Cloak and Dagger's ult, right? I don't remember the exact stats on it, but I believe the healing is something like 220 per second, which I think is a little bit lower than Luna's. I think hers is like 250 a second, something like that. So you can stack it and you will get that extra boost as well as damage. But for the most part, you don't really want to stack it. So again, thinking about a convoy map, something I'll do is, let's say this guy right here is the convoy. I'll actually try and place it as much around that convoy as I can, so my team can play all around the convoy and still be in the heals. Now, something to keep in mind, the way your ult works is that each wave, each dash is a I believe it's 5 seconds. So when I dash, in 5 seconds, that first wave is going to disappear. So it's going to disappear in that pattern, right? So this is going to start to fade, then this is going to start to fade, and then this is going to start to fade, and then your last dash will start to fade. So keep that in mind as well. So there are certain situations where you might want to stack it. Let's say you're fighting for the point and you can't get off. You have to stay on it. That can give you a longer time on the point, right? If you stack that, you're going to be getting those heals constantly over time. Whereas if your first wave is on the point and the rest are off, that first one on the point is going to disappear quicker. And then you're going to be out of heals because you need to stay on that point. And your heals are all off the point, and it can end up losing you the game. So just keep that in mind. I think for the most part, again, you're going to want to not stack your ult. You're going to want to kind of spread that out. The amount of healing you get from one stack is usually enough to keep you up anyway. And it's usually better to just have it spread out so you're not all clumped together, and you can get all blown up by an Iron Man ult or a Magneto ult or something like that. It gives you more freedom to kind of split up and still all get healed. So I think that's pretty much it. I think they're all fairly useful tips that might not be super well known. But let me know if those were useful for you. Hopefully you can get some use out of that. Hopefully you can use those to your advantage with your teammates. You might get dealt a bad hand with teammates, but that might help you through it. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Yeah, I'm gonna go take a break from ranked because it's killing my mental. But thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one.